CT Pan had gained a stroke and was tied for fourth place, 2 shots behind the leaders as he stood on the third hole's tiny tee box Sunday morning. The setup at number 3 was extremely short at 142 yards, into a 2-level green surrounded by a canyon with the pin tucked hard left and the wind howling sideways and toward the green. Pan skied his tee shot. The ball got caught in the gale and then plunked down in the canyon. When it was determined his ball had not sailed overland at any point, Pan was forced to take a cut back to the tee box and hit again. And again, he sailed the ball into the canyon. That meant he was teeing up once more. At that point, he essentially bowed to the hole and the conditions and hit into a collection area below and to the right of the green. He got on, putted and carded an 8. Pan was the first, and perhaps most drastic, wind casualty of the day. But he would not wind up being the last guy whose hopes were blown away. Torrey Pines will host its second US Open in 2021. On Sunday, San Diegans got to enjoy something of a conglomeration of 3 Opens, a US Open track in British Open wind at the Farmers Insurance Open. It was a hot, hard-ass day. England's Justin Rose said after shooting a 74, his first round above par all week. Every shot just felt difficult. It didn't feel like we had the right club all day. It was just a struggle. They didn't back off of the setup at all. Some of it didn't fit the conditions. The South course at Torrey Pines is no peach on any day, especially the final round of the Farmers when greens are dried and pins are placed in the most challenging positions. Sunday, the golfers from around the world who had likely seen at least some of the news coverage of Southern California's fires, found out those Santa Ana winds can burn up around 2. There were just 2 rounds in the 60s on Sunday, with Charles Howell 3 and Hideki Matsuyama shooting 69s. 5 players shot in the 80s. Last year, the 4th round low was winner Jon Rahm's 65, with 12 others going below 70 and only 180 carded. Just 11 players went under par Sunday, and the 74.779 scoring average was the second highest for any round played in 14 tournaments this season. That's what happens when the wind goes left, then right. It makes guys longer off the tee, but it sends their second shot either sailing past the green or bouncing off it. It causes players to club up, then club down. It messes with their heads almost as much as it messes with balls in the air. It makes holes that played one way on Saturday entirely different on Sunday. Plus, wind is an element you can't predict from moment to moment, and you can't really practice it. And it is especially difficult on a long course with rough like hay and greens like terrazzo. Alex Noren, the Swede who on Monday morning will resume a playoff with Jason Day, came to the United States, has won 10 times on the European Tour and just started playing regularly in the United States last year. It was very tough conditions, he said of the wind. Quote, "We play a bit softer greens, partly as a concession to wind. European courses have more spongy landing surfaces, rough that is generally not as deep, and there is often a run up to greens that players can use to essentially expand their target. That's not how Torrey Pines was designed. This is a real difficult test when you have links-style winds," Rose said. A stiff but pleasant breeze blows parasailers around the skies just off Torrey a good 300 days a year. But that wind blows in from the Pacific and is calmed as it bounces off the bluffs. What broke at least one tree branch and ruffled trousers on Sunday was no offshore whisper. It was howling Santa Ana winds playing havoc with little white balls that swept wildly through the sky and bounced off wind-dried greens. This doesn't happen at Torrey but 10 days a year. Even when San Marcos and Poway and Chula Vista are getting disheveled by Santa Ana, it usually dissipates before it hits the coast. Sunday was different. It was 80 degrees plus and blowing. Until late in the round, it was the type of wind that could be heard. It sounded like a freeway or a plane flying overhead. It swirled, too. If you stood watching the flag on a particular hole all day, you could have seen it blow in 8 different directions, primarily west and southwest. "I thought we were going to get some more rounds in the 80s the way it started out," said Joe DeBock, the head pro at Torrey. "It calmed down a little bit. Santa Ana winds generally don't start blowing until fall. Our regular weather is June gloom, when the US Open is played." CT Pan and the rest of the field will be happy to know that. Kevin.ac at estoniantribune.com